I'm standing on above the Tug River here on the line between Kentucky and West Virginia. Not much to look at right back there, is it? A lot of stuff happened right in through this area. There's a town right over there on the West Virginia side. It's called Matewan, and there's some history behind that. I won't go into that because I'll miss all the details that I need to give. But probably most notable is the Hatfields and McCoy. Over there on the Kentucky side, the Hatfields. On the West Virginia side, the McCoys. Of course, on the West Virginia side, well, even on the Kentucky side, one of the notable things in regard to this area is coal, and this used to be a pretty thriving area for coal to come through. I'm sure coal still does. The railroad runs through here. You can see also there's this massive flood wall right here, because history of the area has endured a lot of flooding because of the Tug River. You can see even today they're working on the tracks over there. They've got the men out. There's the Welcome Center for Hatfield and McCoy, which has become very popular in this area as far as people coming out here and hitting all the stops. We're in Matewan right now. We're going to go back into Kentucky. Of course, it would be a little loud over here today. They're working on the tracks over there on the West Virginia side. There's the Tug River down there. I'm actually standing over here in a park in McCarr, Kentucky. I believe it's called the Hatfield and McCoy Park. Trying to, I guess, get a little bit of, I don't know, solidarity, putting those two names together. And, you know, I don't know much about that the whole feud and everything that went on with the Hatfields and the McCoys. I'm sure there's some facts that you could find out, but I think there's a lot of legend to the story as well. But truth of the matter is, there was a lot of bloodshed, a lot of violence. The history of the world is full of violence for sure, but as you think about the United States of America, a lot of violence has happened in this country as well. You know, you have the Wild West, you have stuff like the feuds with the Hatfields and the McCoys. You've got a lot of different things. It just goes to show you that there's just not a whole lot of change in people since day one, since the garden, and since the fall. People still resort to violence because they can't deal with the issues and problems and circumstances they find themselves in with other people. I recently did a little video blog in regard to that relational strife stuff. You can listen to that for a little bit more about James chapter 4 and just some good solutions for that for Christians. But, you know, as I think about 2016 and yesterday or the day before, we had our presidential election where Donald Trump beat out Hillary Clinton. Yeah, that's 2 days ago. Yesterday, there wasn't violence, but there was peaceful demonstrations in a lot of the big cities. Now, I'm sure there'll be some violence that will come as a result of that vote. And I think I do agree with the commentators that there is a deep divide in our country. There always has been. It's really nothing new, you know. Maybe it's growing because we are so focused on getting our way, not listening to each other or the other side and their opinions. There's a divide for a lot of reasons, but the main reason that there's a divide is because of what happened in the garden. many thousands of years ago. And things have just not changed. I think, and I'm pretty clear about this, that it is the church's responsibility, it is believers' responsibility to do something different than what the world offers. I've seen it on social media, and I've seen it in so many conversations with people. Christians are just sounding just like everybody else in our culture, in their disgust of where things have ended up and where they look like they're heading. And they put their trust, just like everyone else, in political systems and people and personalities. It just ain't going to work. God did not make it that way. So I firmly believe it's the church's responsibility. It's believers' responsibility. It's your responsibility, my grandchildren, my children, to do something different. I understand it's not easy living in this world. You live next door to somebody and you have your own mini feuds, so to speak, because of where the fence has been placed. If something's fallen in somebody else's yard, somebody's making too much noise next door. It's just any number of things that we can get irritated about, and I've been in the middle of those kind of things. Those situations that I've had to endure, me and your granny, and sometimes I think we handled it well. Many times I think we did not. It's incumbent upon us to love one another deeply, for love covers over a multitude of sins. And the only way you can do that kind of love is because of Christ's love that's been has been placed into our hearts, and now we can shed that out into the world, display that out into the world. He loved us. We can love others. God sent His own Son into the world to reconcile the world. We as the church, we as followers of Christ, are to take that message out into our neighborhoods, with our neighbors, and we're to take that into our towns, in social media, and national places, politics, and whatever. And we are to sound different. It's going to cost something when we do sound different. There'll be persecution, there'll be trials, there'll be a lot of things, but we are called to do this because we have been called by our God to live differently. Out here in Pike County, McCoy, Kentucky, a lot of noise in the background. I hope you can hear me. Talk to you later. Love you. Bye. Okay, I'm back over by my truck, and the road just right over here that goes to, this is all my car, but this road right here, it goes right into West Virginia, and it runs right along the Tug River. There's a historical marker over there, just right down the road, but I had no place really to pull the truck, and this is a little brutal, but this is just a little piece of the Hatfield and McCoy thing. The historical marker is the pawpaw tree incident, and this is what it says on that marker. After 3 of Randolph McCoy's sons had stabbed and shot Devil Ames, Hatfield's drunk brother in Kentucky, a Hatfield posse kidnapped the McCoys and dragged them across the river to West Virginia, which was outside the jurisdiction of Kentucky law. Devil Ames dutifully waited until his brother died. It didn't take long, then dragged the McCoys a few feet back into Kentucky, tied them to some pawpaw bushes, and shot them dead with over 50 bullets. They are buried in the forbidden McCoy Cemetery. Just some crazy stuff that happened all around that. Just a little piece of that history right there for you.